Hi guys, so I have just finished our development on the MT10 early model up to 2021. So the new model came out and we were dyno testing one the other day. Now we have flashing software sorted and it made about 3 horsepower more than the old bike. So I thought, why don't we do a power up package for the earlier model to bring these up to speed. So we've done some simple modifications to this which have reduced the acceleration time and increased the performance and changed the shape of the power curve. So this bike here was originally set up by us 2 years ago, I believe. It made 155 horsepower like they nearly all do after we've set them up with a decat and a filter and our flashing setup. It came back in, I did multiple runs and it made 155 horsepower, exactly the same as it did when it left, which was great. We then did the modifications to it and set up the fueling. So we have a small modification which we do to the bell mouths and a modification which we do to lighten the crankshaft, so or the rotating mass on the crankshaft, shall we say. So the end result is a pretty dramatic increase in power and a reduction in acceleration time. So in addition, we've upped the rev limit. Now the motor in the MT10 is the same motor that is in the R1S, which is an American US only model. Now the R1S revs the motor much higher than the MT10 revs to, but that's going to be quite simply because it has a better bell mouth design with a dual length bell mouth which allows it to rev further with the correct phasing from the length of the bell mouths. That model's not available in the UK, but with that knowledge we know that we can rev this motor a little bit further. So the uprated bell mouth design which we've done phases everything at higher RPM. So we've increased the rev limit by 500 RPM, taking this to 11.4. So the end result is the blue is where we were with 155 horsepower and 79.6 foot-pounds of torque. The red is the power up version that we have just completed. So we've managed to get an increase everywhere other than between 6,750 and 7,750 where we've got a small reduction. But we have, let's remove that for a second, we have a beautifully smooth linear power curve now. We are hitting 150 brake horsepower from 9,750 all the way through to the rev limiter. And as you can see, with the original setup, it hits peak power and then it drops like a stone. So revving it any further would be a futile effort anyway. But now with the modifications we've made, it not only makes power, has an increase in power, it makes power for longer and holds on right to the very end. So yeah, pretty pleased with where we've got to. We now have 165 horsepower and 80 foot-pounds of torque. So it's a good upgrade and it's reasonably cost effective as well. So next thing is we're going to take this bike and we're going to go and do a load of road testing with it and make sure that it performs as well on the road as it appears to on the dyno, and see how it sort of fares when we test it that way. Cost of this should be around about £1,000. So that will be including the dyno setup and the flash. So we'll confirm that later on, but that's essentially what we're looking to do. A 10 horsepower increase for what will roughly be nearly £600, just under £600 on top of a flash when you're having that done. So yeah, hopefully that should be of interest to some of you guys. Let us know.